Guys, I have been in the lab cooking on the melee build, experimenting all the different kinds of combinations of traits and gear to figure out how to really run the melee build all the way up to Nightmare 200. And this is the first time I will say that Nettie's actually made defensive traits worth it. So you do actually put points in defenses, which is why when you get to the trait section of this video where I'm explaining it, you'll notice that like I actually do put points into defense. It is quite important with this build. Now, if your goal, I will say this at the start though, if your goal is record clears or record times, the melee blade build still doesn't catch up to the gun build. The gun build is still the best. However, the buffs to the melee build make it viable now. You can run this build all the way to Nightmare 200, and you don't need best in slot gear to do it. You don't. I plan on making a video showing you guys, like, all this stuff in the later, but basically, this build, it actually works now. You get a baseline damage reduction of 60% in your melee form. So, without putting any points into defensives, you can still face tank a lot of damage. As you guys can see, I'm, like, basically face tanking on Nightmare 190, right? And I have 4 trillion damage as well. I'm keeping up on damage. I'm doing great damage, and I'm actually face tanking and surviving. It actually works now. Previously, if they didn't give me this 60% damage reduction, I'd be dead right now. I'd be dead. I'd be struggling to survive. I'd be stressing out. I'd be kiting, waiting for my heals. Meanwhile, here I am talking while I'm doing it. I'm chatting. I'm explaining the build. Now, a general way you want to rotate is you want to rotate around the edge of the cluster. However, if you have a lot of heals and you're confident in your survivability, that's when you cycle in. Like, I have 3 heals right now. I'm not really taking a lot of damage. I'm doing a lot of damage, so I'm going to, like, just go through the whole chunk of enemies. I'm just going to go straight through. If I was taking a lot of damage and my life was kind of on the line, then you can stay on the cusp of the cluster. Because when you put points... This is, like, what's really important, right? When you put points into your defensives, it allows you to get your heals back at a rate that is fast enough for, like, your damage mitigation. You want your damage mitigation to reach the point where your heals get back fast enough to where you can just face tank all the damage and not have to kite. Sure, if you don't put points in defensives, you know, you could get low, you could run away like this, right? Like, yada, 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 I'm taking damage, okay, waiting for my heals to get back. But if you want, you know, a bit more efficiency, put those points into defensives. It'll allow you to stay in the fight and face tank all the damage, and your heals will come back at a rate that's fast enough to where you don't have to leave the fight. So as you see, I'm on wave 4, and it's still pretty easy. I'm still not really fearing my life, even with all the elite mobs in this cluster. My heals did get kind of lower now, but you could always, like, the wave 4 is when it's going to get scary because of all the elites. Like, as you see right now, it is getting a little bit scary because of all the elites, but I just ult out. You can always use your block if you need to. Usually, you'll be able to face tank everything with complete brainless ease with this build until, like, wave 4. Wave 4, you get all the elites, and that's when it's going to get risky. So 5 seconds, I'll just stay in it because it's 5 seconds. That's when it gets risky. Oh, we got Dracula! I don't feel like redoing this, guys, but we did get Dracula. You can face tank bosses. I'll show you the first, like, 20 seconds, because I think we all know how much of a pain Dracula is. I don't feel like going through it, but you can just face tank a lot of the damage, and your damage isn't bad either on bosses. You can shred a boss down. You don't fail the DPS check. As long as you have the right traits on, obviously, you won't fail the DPS check. He doesn't do enough damage to you, so you can go through it all. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, whenever I get Dracula, I always restart. I don't go through that whole sword phase. Like, you see, see, my damage is actually quite good right now. You do out DPS him. You see, like, oh, he healed himself. Yeah, I don't feel like going through this. Let's just go to the trait section. Guys, before we look at the traits, here's a quick look at our sponsor for today's video. Guys, thanks to today's sponsor, I have an amazing deal for you guys. If you guys are looking for the most cost-affordable way to top up your lattice in Marvel Rivals, you can do so with topuplive.com with the discount code NUG. All you have to do is go to the Marvel Rivals page or the link, which will be in the description and the pinned comment down below. Once you go to that link, you just put your name in, you select the lattice that you want, and you put the discount code NUG, and then you will receive your currency in-game instantly. So for the traits, now this is really important because there's a lot of things different that I don't normally do with these builds. So, starting off, we go 5 points into damage, 1 point into flat health, 5 points into outboost. Now, I actually have 3 points here into armor value, 5 points into crit damage. Crit damage is ideally what you go with on this build because you're doing tons of little procs, not a lot of big procs. You don't really want a lot of precision. 1 into block rate. I will admit, I have not experimented with a block rate point tree. That could be interesting. Primary attack speed. 1 point to flat health, 5 into critical hit rate, 1 into block damage reduction, 5 into output boost, 2 into health percent. Now, you could reallocate some armor points into health percent, but your rune healing is... I prefer to have the armor value, just because it I prefer having the armor value because it increases the value of the health that you have on, rather than giving me more health. So it also enhances... I'm trying to explain it properly, but it also enhances the value of your healing ability, your healing rune. The more armor you have, the more valuable the health you have is, which makes your runes more valuable, if you get what I'm saying. Primary weapon damage, dodge rate at 1 point precision, 5 points into armor value, 1 point into precision damage, 5 into health, 1 point to ultimate ability, 1 point to block damage, and then critical damage. Now, as for the traits here, I go 3 in attack speed on Swift Edge, 3 into Unfazed, 1 into Swift Severance, 3 into Honed Edge, and then going all the way down, I have nothing else, basically. So, because of the traits, my armor percentage is at 74%. If I take all the points out of armor, I'll probably go down to like 60%. And 15% damage reduction matters. That is 15%. When you're sitting in front of the mobs, taking a crap ton of damage almost every hit, and on top of that, with your gear, you get a 60% damage reduction as well. It makes it to where you can face tank a lot of this damage. Now, going to the gear, but one more thing I want to say, actually, is, again, it's extremely important that your armor value, or the damage you take, cannot exceed the rate that you need to use your heals. Which is why damage resistance is actually important with this build. Previously, it didn't matter. Before they buffed this, which you see right here, you get a 60% damage reduction. Before they gave you that, putting points into armor didn't matter because you wouldn't be able to out-heal it no matter what. You would just blow up instantly. No matter how many points you put into damage resistance, it wouldn't be enough. You would die right away. So you would just go for all damage and Kamikaze. Now, you don't have to Kamikaze. You can actually survive, which is why you put points into defense. So, for this build, for your gear, you pretty much just go damage. The traits for the melee build are all damage-oriented. Like here, Honed Edge. Your Daywalker dash damage scales with Ancestral Sword damage, plus 120%. Same thing with this. It's all just damage and attack speed buffs. So with this build, the most important things are total damage boost, and then critical damage. Critical damage is so important. Ideally, your whetstone has, like, these 3. These 3 are the best 3 you could have on your whetstone. Swift Edge, Unfazed, and Honed Edge. The best 3 you could have. And then one of those 2, as you see, it's not ideal. I have a health instead of, like, an output boost. I guess best in slot would be output boost and a crit damage, or crit rate, or whatever. I have crit damage here. Crit damage is great. You do want crit damage, crit rate, total damage boost, bonus damage against close range enemies. You could fit some boss damage in there too, because your boss damage will be a little bit lower, but it's not that bad, actually. Your boss damage with this build is not that bad. Yeah, crit damage, crit rate, total damage boost, I guess some boss damage, some close range damage, and then the traits on these 2 don't really matter that much, because you'll get what you need here. Here, you just want as much damage as possible. Maybe your trait is really good, and you don't have a lot of gear that has, like, this total damage, because, like, the rating on this piece of gear, by the way, guys, it's 6,200. It's not that high. You just need a lot of damage. Like, you don't really need the best gear to make this build work. It's not like you need the best gear. Now, your armor piece is very important, though. Because, like, again, this build is about surviving. There is one trait that is a must-have. Actually, 2. There are 2 must-haves for this build. Healing rune cooldown reduction. You must have that. And then health percent. Because look at my health. If I take off health percent, I go down to 9,000 health from 15,000. It's such a big difference, and you need that to survive. Health percent and healing rune cooldown reduction, because you will use a lot of runes. As for the other traits, they're not required, but they're highly optimal. Armor value and health. You just need, yeah, armor value, health percent, and healing rune cooldown reduction are the best four. But the mandatory are health percent and healing rune cooldown reduction. But yeah, guys, that's all for this build. It's actually viable now. Thank you, Netties, for buffing it. Still not as good as the gun build, but certainly viable. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, subscribe, comment, turn the bell for notifications so you can see when my videos are. As always, guys,